Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 3 Yards and a Cloud of Dust NFL podcast. I'm your host, Josh, and as always, my co host, Johnny.
Hello, people.
So, we've got, I wouldn't say like huge contracts to talk about, but some fairly notable ones that we need to discuss today. Hopefully, we'll be able to get through everything.
A lot has happened.
Yeah, and in just a short week. And so, obviously, one of the most notable ones we didn't really get to touch on last week was the release of Alex Smith from the Washington football team.
Which actually did happen within this last week, though.
Yeah, officially it happened within the last several days. We had kind of touched on it a little bit last week, but didn't go really deep into it because we were kind of running late by the time we got to it.
Yeah, it happened about 5 days ago was when it was reported.
Yeah, so a couple days after the last episode went up. But yeah, that was actually really interesting because I thought, obviously, he won the Comeback Player of the Year award this past season, and
He would definitely be a good quarterback for whoever picks him up who needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
Who is planning on picking up a rookie quarterback.
And I mean, I understand that they re-signed Chad Heineke, and he played extremely well in that wild card game. But I was really surprised to hear that Alex Smith and the Washington football team were parting ways.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That one was surprising, but I think it was also a good thing because you had Alex Smith was able to do what he needed to do with the new quarterback, and now he's going to try and move on to a different team to do the same thing. He is definitely one of those good teachers.
Yeah, and I know there are some teams out there that are looking for quarterbacks right now still. Obviously, some of the bigger ones that aren't looking for quarterbacks are teams like the Eagles. The Colts, obviously, are not looking for a quarterback.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts did pick up a rookie quarterback just to have as a backup. I really wouldn't.
You know what? I don't think they will, just because of the fact that they've got Carson Wentz and then they've got Jacoby Brissett sitting behind him. And Jacoby Brissett, he's not terrible.
But they only have the first and second string, and Carson Wentz hasn't been able to do well and haven't really been able to play a full season since his injury.
Well, he played I think the only reason he didn't play a full season this past year was because they benched him in one game.
Because he wasn't playing well.
Right. But I think that has a lot to do with the misconnect that was going on between him and Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Eagles. So I think that was probably affecting his play because we understand that they were not getting along at all that season. From what we understand, they were not getting along basically towards the end of the previous season. And it carried over into this season. And
it just constantly got worse throughout the season.
Yeah, and of course that's going to affect anybody. I mean, look at what's happening with Deshaun Watson and the Texans.
Oh yeah, it's like that one's been going downhill for the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
It's like we all started seeing it about 3 years ago, and it constantly got worse throughout the seasons.
Yeah, but the Colts are a good young team. They've got a lot of the right pieces. They've got good coaching, and I think he's going to do just fine. I think we're going to see the Carson Wentz of 3-4 years ago when he first came into the league and took it by storm. Especially that year they went to the Super Bowl, because that was mostly him.
Yeah, and he got injured, I want to say, in that last game.
Yeah,
it was second to last game.
Yeah, it was the second last game before the season ended. And then Nick Foles came in and took over. He did a good job.
He did a really great job.
And then, of course, he didn't do shit last year with the Bears.
Well, the Bears really don't have many pieces to begin with.
Yeah.
They don't have a good defensive line. They don't have an offensive line, really.
No, I mean, the Bears are really close to being there. They're just, honestly, they're a solid quarterback away from being a true Super Bowl contender, I think. Because they've got a great defense. They played extremely well in that game against, what was it? It was the Bucs, wasn't it?
I believe, yeah. But I think what Foles need is a good veteran quarterback. No, it wasn't
the Bucs. I think it was the Packers.
It was one of those teams.
I don't know.
But
I know the playoff game they played, they actually played really well.
What Nick Foles needs and
the Saints.
What Nick Foles needs and What the Bears need is if they can pick up Alex to put him ahead of Nick Foles, he can learn a little bit more from Alex and be able to kind of change his game just slightly. That could make a difference in his future.
No, the whole thing is
But that's just me.
yeah.
I see him. I see them doing that, and
I think
him getting
if
better.
you hold on to the two quarterbacks that they currently have, if you're holding on to either of them, you're holding on to Trubisky.
Oh, yeah.
Because you still have that hope that he's still young enough to be able to learn from somebody. But I don't think the Bears are going to be going for Alex Smith.
No.
From what we're hearing.
Oh, no. They're not going to, but I'm just saying that would be a good thing.
Yeah, from what we're hearing is they're really, really pushing hard to try and get Russell Wilson.
If they can get Russell Wilson, that would be a good quarterback to have on that team because now you have a solid quarterback with solid wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. I could honestly see Alex Smith ending up in somewhere like Denver.
Yeah, I could see that.
Having him in Denver or maybe end up in Carolina.
That one would be an interesting one, being in Carolina. Because
I think the only other possibility, the only other team he could probably go to.
If he goes to the Dolphins, he's more likely to end up behind Tua.
No, yeah, I don't think he's going to the Dolphins. I think the only other team he maybe could end up on is the Patriots.
That may actually be a decent fit though, because you have Nick Foles with going to the Patriots, and then you have the Patriots already have a decent line and wide receivers.
Not Nick Foles, Alex Smith.
Oh yeah.
I've given up on Nick Foles. I don't think I think he could be a good backup, but I don't think he's ever going to be a good starter. He's just one of those guys that doesn't have that.
He doesn't need because how old is he?
Foles?
I want to say he's only like 27.
I think he's a little bit older than that. He might be 30.
Okay. I'll figure that out.
You got to remember because you got to remember he started with the Eagles.
Yeah.
And then he went to Kansas City for a couple years.
Yeah.
And then he ended up back with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Or no, I think he went to the Jaguars. No, he went back to the Eagles. Then he went to the Jaguars.
Yes.
Or not back to the Jaguars, but he went to the Jaguars. And then from the Jaguars, he ended up with Chicago.
That sounds about right. He just moved around too much.
Yeah. I think he maybe could be like a slightly less effective Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
At best.
He's definitely better than Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh, no, he's not. No, I would take Ryan Fitzpatrick over Nick Foles any day.
Slightly, they're about the same.
I mean, even with Fitzpatrick being
play like how they play the game is slightly different, but
yeah,
that's just how I see it.
Fitzpatrick has more talent, in my opinion.
Yeah, that could go that way. Yeah.
And then he's got the whole that.
No.
There is no. Yeah, you can't even make that. You can't even make his name rhyme.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but looks like Nick Foles is 32.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have long left in his lifetime anyway. Of football, at least.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's all gonna be able to. It's all gonna depend on what he can show.
Yeah,
but I think he's done getting starting deals.
Yeah, he'll probably end up being a backup for the next few years, and if he does end up getting a starting role, if he does not do well, his career is pretty much done at that point.
Yeah. Now going back to Alex Smith, though, do you think maybe we could see him reuniting with the Niners? Or do you think he wouldn't go that way?
I don't think he would go that way. I think he's pretty much done with the Niners and that franchise just because.
Well, it's a different head coach.
It's a different head coach, but think about how often they switch their head coaches, though.
I mean, you can't really fault the team for firing a head coach who's ineffective.
Yeah, they're ineffective, but it's like they have switched around their head coach more than most teams.
Yeah, I think they had the second most different head coaches within a span of 10 years at one point. The only team that had more was the Raiders.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is like the Raiders usually kept with the same quarterback, though. Usually.
No.
I'm saying usually
Until Derek Carr, they had in the course of 10 years they had like 7 or 8 different starting quarterbacks.
But with how many coaches within that time frame?
8 or 9 different head coaches.
So
really, Derek Carr has been the only consistency that we've had in the last decade.
Yeah, but you also have the 49ers who have pretty much every new head coach they get a new quarterback. Let's think about this. He's not going to go. Alex Smith is not going back to the 49ers to deal with a change of head coach and quarterbacks again.
Well, I don't think they're going to be changing head coaches anytime soon because Kyle Shanahan's actually been doing really well for him. Yeah, you can't even really blame him for what happened this past year. They suffered so many injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah, they need to be able to hold on to the leads from the defensive side.
Yeah.
So they do need a few good pieces for defense that could easily turn the tides and turn them into a more playoff caliber team again.
Well, they lost the guy who's easily their best player on defense, Nick Bosa, early in the season for the entire season.
Yeah, it's like that was a big blow to the team. But,
it was huge.
But let's just hypothetical if he did not get injured, would they still make all the defensive errors that they still did? Because a lot of those were deep passes or passes pretty much right thrown to a defender.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
and, Sherman's not. He just doesn't have what he used to have either.
No, so I'm just saying it's like if they can get like a good safety, a couple cornerbacks, and probably another lineman who's good, either a middle linebacker or an actual lineman, I say it would be a good opportunity to bump up that defense a little bit.
Yeah, they probably could use a few extra pieces on defense, but once they get Nick Bosa back, they're going to be a lot better.
Oh yeah,
and then you get Jimmy Garoppolo fully healthy. Like, I know he's not the greatest quarterback in the world, but he is really good.
And he meshes well with the team.
Yeah.
Which is also the other piece where I don't think Alex Smith would go, though, because you always have a good quarterback that meshes with the team well.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I mean, he meshed with them, like, really quickly.
A lot faster than most quarterbacks.
Yeah. He came in that first year after being traded from the Patriots. He played the last 5 games. He won all 5 games.
Exactly. And he pretty much just showed the Patriots, like, you kind of screwed up.
Yeah. And then you can't blame him for the next year. He was winning his games until he went down with the injury.
Exactly.
And then the year after that, he leads the team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Which I believe they lost to the Chiefs. Yes. Yeah. Which the Chiefs are already probably one of the strongest teams, offensive and defensive.
Yeah.
So and that would been that was a whole team to even face to in the Super Bowl, but just to keep it as close as they did was good on his part.
Well, their biggest mistake was not keeping the pedal to the metal and was trying to play defensively on offense.
Yeah, and he should have played played strong.
That wasn't you can't put all the blame on Jimmy Garoppolo for that one. Yeah, that is coaching as well. That is the person calling the plays.
Yeah, which he should have actually, but he can easily change the play because.
But he didn't have that kind of experience going for him.
No.
This is the first time ever being in the Super Bowl. Well, as a starter. First time ever being in the Super Bowl as a starter. Before that, he was watching Tom Brady make all the decisions.
And you really didn't have Tom Brady helping him out at all either.
I wouldn't be surprised if he actually was. I mean, I would love to be able to sit down with Jimmy some point and ask him, hey, when you were with the Patriots, did Tom ever come over to you after making a mistake or something, and give you good advice or like point out where that play went wrong, so that way, you know, in the future, you wouldn't, once you got your chance, you know, you would be ready to recognize that.
I think he actually did a interview like that, and that question was asked. I just don't remember what he said.
Yeah.
So, but
I mean, you know that too. You had Jimmy this past year who played. You know, he did play injured when he came back from that injury, and then he re-injured himself, and then they sat him for the rest of the year. You had Kittle, who was out for a majority of the season with an injury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but
and then, of course, they traded Emmanuel Sanders away.
That one was a bad move, though. That one really was.
Well, I can't blame them for doing what they did, because New Orleans is probably a better fit for him anyways.
Yeah, it's like that was a good move for him personally, but I say it was a bad move for the team itself. There we go.
But it'll be interesting to see where Alex lands. I really hope that, you know, as long as he wants to play, you know, I hope he's able to stay healthy. I hope he doesn't have to go through what he went through with that gruesome injury he had, a year and a half ago?
Yeah, and which took him a little while to get back.
Yeah. Took him a long while. He wasn't even ready to start by the time this past season had started.
Yeah,
he was working. He worked his butt off, though.
He worked his butt off, got back into a starting role, and I want to say the first game he played was literally the week before Thanksgiving.
It was something like that. I don't remember exactly.
I want to say it was the week before Thanksgiving because he played on Thanksgiving.
The team played a lot better when he came back, and it was noticeable immediately. I mean, hell, they went and won the division.
Yeah, and it's
with a losing record.
Yeah, and that is definitely a strong point of view because that just shows how much he meshed with the team itself right when he got back.
Yeah.
Because he already had that personality with them. So, separating him from that team might be a blow to the team for probably a few games, but not much.
I am interested to see what Heineke can do, though.
I say he's...
Because he played extremely well in that wild card game.
Me personally, I see them going at least winning 10 games. Because he does play well, and because there is that extra game this season.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I see him
go. I have been forgetting about that 17th game that they're playing this year.
His winning percentage will be somewhere between 10-7 and 12-5. That's where he will end up. But I see him more going 10-7. That's where I see him going because he is definitely a good quarterback, and if he can mesh with the team well enough to get good consecutive wins right off the back, that would definitely put them in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on how he plays against the division.
Oh yeah, it will come down to that, but
yeah.
But if they can win the first few games, that will put them in the right direction of where they need to go.
Yeah. But speaking of in the division, the really notable signing that did happen over with Dallas, the Cowboys have officially re-signed Dak Prescott to a 4-year, $160 million extension.
Yeah, and the deal is with $127 million guaranteed, with $75 million for this season, which I think is a little much, but he also does deserve it because he does play his position well and mesh with the team well.
Yeah, I've never doubted about his ability. I mean, ever since I saw him come into the league a few years ago, and immediately when he started playing, I knew he had talent. I knew he was going to be great for that team. But I think one of the biggest questions was whether or not he was going to get re-signed, especially after that gruesome injury he suffered this past season.
Which I'm not surprised that they re-signed him because he is coming back stronger and he is definitely going to do well for the team.
Well, I have some family that are big Dallas Cowboys fans.
And same on my side.
A lot of them were like, "Oh no, don't even bother re-signing Dak. He's terrible. Move on." They were saying the same thing about Tony Romo. It was like, are we watching the same football games here?
Yeah, it's like I say, it's like my uncle. It's like he's definitely a huge Cowboys fan, and he's like, no, I just want Cowboys to just completely sink and get another new quarterback. I'm like, but Dallas Prescott is a good quarterback.
Yeah,
He just needs more pieces around him. That's the issue.
Yeah, because, I mean, obviously, Ezekiel Elliott, while he was good there for a couple of years, and he's still a solid player, I don't think he's a terrible player, he's not what he was touted to be.
But he is also still
He has dropped off quite significantly.
Yeah, but he is still one of those few good players who can run the ball and be a wide receiver when needed.
Yeah, no, like
so
I
he's
said,
definitely still a dual threat when it comes to
I'm
that.
not denying that he has talent. I'm not denying that he's a good football player. I'm just saying he's not as good as everybody thought he was.
No, it's like he definitely dropped off because wasn't Ezekiel Elliott there when Tony Romo retired?
No.
Okay.
Both him and Dak came in afterwards. I think Dak came first and then Elliott came next.
Yeah, okay. I just don't remember.
It might have been the other way around. I can't be entirely sure.
It's like, but they both showed up after.
Yeah, and I mean they have solid weapons. They've got Amari Cooper, who obviously had a dip in play this year, but that could be more attributed to
the defense guarding him because they know he's the number one and he is definitely a good wide receiver that they will go to.
Yeah.
So they've been on him a little bit more lately, but if they can get a second good wide receiver
They've got 3 good wide receivers.
Yeah.
One is Amari Cooper, obviously. And then you've got Michael Gallup. And then, of course, they drafted CeeDee Lamb this past year.
Yeah, and then if you can get one more, and
yeah.
when they go through that 4 type of wide receiver setup, they can take out that running back and throw in a wide receiver.
I think they need to look at maybe a tight end.
Yeah, the tight end would help, but I want to see
because he could be that middle guy who can sit there and go for the short routes or something in the middle of the field for Dak as almost like a check down.
Yeah,
just like Ezekiel Elliott.
If they can get a wide receiver who can play both wide receiver and tight end, that would definitely be a good fit for them too. Because now, if one of the wide receivers go out, now you have another wide receiver who can go out there and just run people over too.
So then you think they should go out and try and find somebody like a Darren Waller?
Yeah.
And I mean, that would be the dream for everybody, I'm sure.
I think it would definitely help the Cowboys in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that it would. It's just you're not going to find many talents like that.
No, that comes one on Blue Moon, but if it does happen, it does happen. But it's like you won't really know until the guy's drafted too.
Yeah,
because you
and then
can't
drafting, but the whole thing is with drafting tight ends, it really is a crapshoot.
Yeah, but it's like very few are good, and you can't really tell who is good through college until they get to the NFL level.
Yeah, and a lot of receiving tight ends though are converted wide receivers.
Yeah, and it's like with Travis Kelce, he is definitely he didn't really have a lot of potential coming out of college, so he was basically a flip of a coin when he got drafted, but he ended up being...
He was good right away.
Yeah, he was good right away, but he was still a flip of the coin because he was also on not a college team that wasn't really great to begin with, but because he wasn't on the best college team, it did make a difference because he was a flip coin and because the Chiefs drafted him, correct?
I believe so. He's only ever played for the Chiefs.
Yeah, so the Chiefs drafted him, and I guarantee it was a flip coin. They saw something that they liked in him, and he was a good fit right away. And I guarantee you a lot of teams after that first season wish they picked him up.
I'm sure. I'm very sure, especially now.
And because he is definitely a strong tight end.
Oh, yeah.
And no one could have thought someone coming from a Cincinnati Bearcats team would go that well for being a decent team.
Yeah. But, I mean, I do agree that the Cowboys do need some weapons. I think their defense needs more work than their offense.
Oh, yeah. The offense is almost spot on. They could get probably one or two lineman and probably a new running back. But other than that, it's all on defense.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Because they need two two pass rushers, at least one middle linebacker, and a safety with a cornerback. Because that would definitely help their defense just right there.
Yeah, I agree.
And there was a decent amount of good defensive players coming in this draft. So.
Yep, but at least they don't have to worry about quarterback for the next 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
So that was definitely smart on there. And, it's not so big of a deal that, if for some reason it turns out that Dak isn't as good as we think he is, then it's not going to kill him.
Yeah.
Really. Because the deal's what, $160 million with only 127 guaranteed?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but it's 127 broken up over 4 years.
Yeah, but it's guaranteed. The issue is it's guaranteed. The 127 is guaranteed, which means
but if you take it into context though, so that 160 million breaks down to 40 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Now he's only getting 127 of that total.
Yeah.
Of that 160. So what is that? That's so he's maybe coming away with about 32 million a year. So I mean he's making decent.
Yeah.
But he has the stats to make that kind of money.
Yeah. And he, like we said before, it's like he is definitely a good quarterback, and if they can get some help on the defensive end, the Cowboys team will be basically where they were with Tony Romo.
Yeah. Maybe even better off, probably a lot better off than when they were with Tony Romo, because, I mean, Tony, he did everything himself.
Yeah, and
he often ended up getting injured because of that, or playing injured.
But you also...
I still remember that one game he came back in and played with broken ribs.
But he still had Des Bryant, too.
I think Des Bryant was overrated. I think he was good. He was good, I will give him that, but I think he was overrated.
Yeah. So...
But anyways, we got to kind of move on. So some of the other big news: the Bills have re-signed Micah Hyde to a 2-year deal. Let's see, who else do we have?
We have Justin Kelsey with a new 1-year deal with the Eagles.
Okay. There was another really notable re-signing. The Steelers finally came to agreement on a 1-year deal with Ben Roethlisberger
with $14 million.
Yeah. How much of that is guaranteed, though?
All of it.
All of it? Okay, wow.
All of it is guaranteed because it's a 1-year deal.
I'm surprised with him getting the full contract guaranteed, especially with how he choked late in the season.
Well, because when it comes to a 1-year deal, yes, they don't have to give him guaranteed, but all of it is guaranteed because it is a 1-year deal with Ben, and you know he's going to play all year.
Yeah, I definitely think they got to look in the draft. They got to maybe try to trade up and get one of the young quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I guarantee that's something that they are looking into already. I guarantee that's something that they did talk about during their contract talk.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I hope Ben at this point understands that he's declining seriously and he's declining fast.
Oh yeah,
and that he either needs to be on board with
the new quarterback,
getting the new guy ready to go, or that's probably why they have him just on the 1-year deal. They probably said, "Hey, we'll re-sign you, but know this: we're going to the draft. We're going to try and get a decent quarterback because we understand you don't have forever anymore."
No,
you're. It's like, I mean, if I'm the owner or the coach or whoever was sitting down talking to him for the contract, I would be like, dude, after the way you played at the end of last season, I mean, you had the defense carry you for most of through the first half of the season.
Yeah.
With how you played last year, you have to know your time is limited here.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, it's, we'll give you a 1-year deal just because we don't have, we're not sure where we're going to be at. We know the other quarterbacks that we have are not that great. We're going to try and find somebody in the draft. But either you need to get on board with training the new guy, or after this 1 year, you're done.
Yeah. So this will definitely come down to how he acts this upcoming year. And then you also have the Titans who trade away Isaiah Wilson to the Dolphins.
Okay.
Who the Titans did pick up Isaiah Watson last year in the draft. And so in this trade, the Titans got a 7th-round pick for next year for Isaiah, while the Dolphins got Isaiah for who was a 7th-round pick last year.
Okay.
So it's basically an EVA exchange.
How old is he?
He's only 22.
So it was a player for a pick, right? Not a player and a pick for a pick?
Yeah, it was a player for a pick.
Okay.
So basically, Isaiah Wilson is an offensive lineman who went from who got drafted by the Titans, got traded to the Dolphins, to save cap space for a new pick.
Yeah, so it basically means that the Titans didn't see much from Wilson, which is why they were willing to let him go. Because he's, 22, you said?
Yeah, he's only 22.
He's only 22, and he's offensive lineman, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And this isn't a, heavy hit on the Dolphins either, because it is...
Well, no, because you're not going to have to pay a 7th-round pick all that much.
That, and you also have... He still has 3 years on his contract with the Dolphins picked up,
because every draft pick gets a 4-year deal.
Yeah, and he still has 3 years left on his contract. So throughout this next 3 years, he will be getting just under $5 million.
Each year or total?
Total.
Okay. So then
He's really won't be getting much, and
so he's barely making over $1 million a year.
But if he does well with the Dolphins within his next few years,
well, yeah, of course,
they'll definitely re-sign him with a lot more money, and I guarantee that's what he's going for.
Yeah. Well, chances are, so this is my thinking, is that the Dolphins, they went and they got a young low draft pick, or late draft pick, and they're planning on probably trying to go find someone else who can immediately go in front of him and then train him up to be ready for that spot.
Yeah.
Because Tua needs help on that line.
Oh, yeah, and because he got hit a lot.
He did.
And because they don't have a good offensive line.
Yeah.
The only two guys is the right tackle and the center. Those are literally the only two guys they have. Because a lot of them came up the middle. If you really look back at all the games he got hit, 80% of them came right up the middle.
Yeah.
Which means, and it was the middle left side too. Mm-hmm. And so that side broke down a lot. So if they can get someone for that side, it will at least balance it out just slightly where he won't get hit as much. Because the more hits Tua takes, the greater chance of him getting injured where he won't be able to play.
Yeah.
And we'll have another luck situation.
Yeah. And, he's going to be the number one guy this year, especially with the news of Ryan Fitzpatrick retiring.
Yeah, it's like he hasn't fully said he was going to retire yet, but that is in the air with him saying he might retire. And so that is in the talks of him retiring.
Yeah.
And so next week, if he does fully come out by next week saying he is retiring, we'll definitely be putting that in.
I'm pretty sure he has pretty much said it because there were talks of him potentially being traded to another team. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm done.
Yeah, but he does want to play one more year, though, and that's something else I did read on.
I don't know. The article that I read just today said that he said he was retiring.
Yeah, I read mine today too, so it probably came out a couple hours difference. So we'll definitely see what he decides to do.
Yeah.
He's definitely keeping media on their toes with, so they can't really do much with.
Yeah, something like that.
So off to a release that the Seahawks did, releasing Carlos Dunlap. Dunlap,
okay.
The defensive lineman,
that's actually kind of surprising. When you first told me about that one, I was surprised to hear that because he came in and he actually played really well for that defense.
Oh yeah,
late in the season.
He was definitely a key piece for that defense.
Especially for that playoff push.
Oh yeah, and But they decided to do it because it also saved them roughly 14 million in Seattle's cap space, and I think it was a bad move for Seattle, but it's definitely whoever does pick him up will definitely get a good defensive back.
Well, he's a defensive end, I believe.
Yeah,
Or linebacker.
he's a defensive line, but he does play a little bit of middle linebacker. He did play that position a couple times in a couple snaps, but he was mostly on the line.
Yeah, I believe he's an edge rusher. That could be something. I mean, he could definitely be a nice veteran piece for somebody, especially if he's able to repeat his late season performance.
Oh yeah, and he will definitely. I have no doubt that he will. And if he, especially if he can keep that up all year though, that would definitely push whatever team picks him up.
Yeah. And then I guess pretty much all we have left to really talk about is what the hell is going on in Las Vegas right now.
Yeah, I also want to touch on two more topics just before that. One, they're both pretty short. One is with Josh Burrow, his recovering rehab from his torn ACL. Thank you. Is actually recovering really well, and from basically what he said, he should be set up and ready for this upcoming season, but he won't be starting right away.
Okay. So that means we won't see him week 1.
No, and if he does, that would definitely be a strong miracle because Joe Burrow got
well,
it.
He did go down late.
Yeah,
he did go down late, so it would be pretty tough for him to be back.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he came back right after.
They've got to go get him
midweek.
They've got to go get him some line help though in the draft.
Oh yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him back, but he comes back starting after mid-season.
Yeah.
But at least his rehab's doing good. His surgery went well, so he should be coming back. And they are looking into getting a better line in this draft to help him.
From what I understand, there's 3 good pieces he could potentially be getting.
Oh yeah, and this next topic should scare a lot of people, especially if you don't like Tom Brady, because Tom Brady is already 43.
Yeah.
But the Bucks and Brady have been chatting about extensions, and
Gisele's not going to be happy about that one.
And if he does get an extension, it will probably add another 3 years. I would not be surprised, especially with them getting a Super Bowl after 1 season of having him.
I don't know if it'll be 3 years. I could see him getting another 2-year deal. Because at this point, he's not going to get... I mean, he won't get anything longer than a 3-year deal just because of his age alone.
Yeah. And Brady's carries a salary cap hit of $28.4 million this season.
Yeah. And that's going to be the key thing is being able to get him on a deal that isn't going to break the bank for the Bucks.
Yeah, and
because you know if he does get another deal, it's all going to be guaranteed again.
Oh yeah, definitely. And he has always said to multiple media,
especially if they go and win another Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, and you already know he's always said to multiple media. He's always said to multiple answer the same question multiple times through different interviews that he is willing to play past age 45, and that's only 2 years away, and so which means they will probably add him for 3 more years, and depending on how he plays the next 3 years, he will more likely get another extension for 1 more.
Yeah, I just think it's going to come down to how well Gisele can guilt trip him into retiring.
Which I don't see him happening anytime soon.
I don't know. She seems to have quite a bit of power in that family. Because I read an article. I think it was yesterday, where he was talking about a recent talk that he had been having with his wife, and she brought up the subject of how you've won another Super Bowl now. When are you going to retire? And he was trying to change the subject.
Because he does. Because football.
I mean, I get it. When you've had as much success as Tom Brady has had, basically, and you could sit there in your 40s and still have fun with the game, you don't want to leave it. I don't think any player ever truly wants to leave it, especially if they love the game.
Yeah, and we definitely saw that with Andrew Luck with his early retirement. It's like he loved the game, but it's like he got hit too much and he just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like he does miss the game. He has missed the game, but he has enjoyed raising his daughter. But back to Tom Brady, it's like, yes, he does enjoy the game. He loves playing with his guys, and I'm pretty sure he does not want to retire until he has at least one more ring. I guarantee he wants to be known as the GOAT of all GOATs, and I'm sorry, there will be no other GOAT than Michael Jordan.
Yeah, well, at least until Patrick Mahomes has 15 rings.
Patrick Mahomes can turn in 15 rings. Yeah, we know who the new GOAT is of all sports.
I mean, it would be crazy to,
especially if
once Tom Brady is gone. Answer me this: once Tom Brady is gone, who is there to stop Patrick Mahomes?
Nobody. There's really nobody. The only person close enough to actually stop him, if he can actually get his passing accurately, would be not Deshaun Watson.
I think Deshaun Watson on a good team could stop him.
Yes, Deshaun Watson on a good team, yes. But
I think Aaron Rodgers, if he got his head out of his ass, could stop him.
Ravens quarterback.
Lamar Jackson?
Yes.
No.
If he can actually get his passing on spot and actually be able to do it, he could threaten it, but
no. No, I'm sorry.
You're shaking your head like, no, this is not happening. I am not going into this.
No, it's not that I'm not going into it. I mean, I'll be happy to argue with you on it all day. Lamar Jackson just does not have the same skill set.
Oh no,
he's not nearly as talented. He is very talented,
but he is
very talented.
He is more.
And I think he could be a very viable long-term quarterback wherever he plays, whether he stays in Baltimore or he moves on to someone else. He's definitely going to be a decent quarterback.
Yeah, and then.
But he's never going to be Patrick Mahomes. He's never going to be on that level.
No, and because he wants the ball too much. He really does. It's like, yes.
Yeah, he does have a tendency to run too much. He needs to learn how to stay in the pocket and become a more accurate passer.
And the issue is he goes through 1, 2, and doesn't even look at the other two wide receivers who could be wide open, which we saw in a lot of games. The problem
is he doesn't have great wide receivers. He's got a couple of good ones and a couple of okay ones. Yeah, but that's about it.
If you look at it, you had two decent wide receivers who got open a good amount because he ran too much.
No, I think he was. His problem was this past season this was probably the worst wide receiving core he's had. Yeah. Since he's been with the Baltimore Ravens. And what happened was that basically once the other teams identified who his really good wide receivers were,
they doubled up on
them. And the other two were not good enough to make up for it. So basically, you were right. He'd look for those two guys. He'd look for his tight end. If they weren't open, he'd run. Mm-hmm. And he was doing that too much because he knew he couldn't rely on anyone else.
Yeah.
At that point.
Exactly.
Now, mind you, they did run the ball a bit more this year with their running backs.
Yeah.
You saw that more this year, but the passing game numbers dropped.
Passing game dropped, and the running game went up a little bit.
It wasn't, but it wasn't great.
No, the running game hasn't been good until and it won't be good until they can get a good passing call behind it.
Yeah.
That's the issue. If they can get good wide receivers who can do that, they will be good.
Yeah, but I don't think it. I mean, I believe we'll have some really good games between Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're going to have some really good games between Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, maybe even some really good games between Derek Carr and Patrick Mahomes. But...
Which reminds me of one more topic we want to say at the beginning that we forgot to.
But the only quarterback who I think really could give Patrick Mahomes a run for his money right now is probably Deshaun Watson. But he's got it. He needs to go to a good team.
Yeah, and until he can get on a good team, there was no chance for Deshaun Watson beating him.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised if Mahomes went and got a three-peat and then went back to try to do a
Once Brady's gone.
Yes.
Once Brady's gone, I see Mahomes doing like a 5-peat.
Yeah, and I see him doing that later on in his career, but I see him doing at least one three-peat before he hits that.
Yeah. I could see...
Well, after the second three-peat, we'll basically be like, when we do all playoff brackets, like, we know Kansas City's going, so they won every game.
So this past year was Super Bowl 56, right? This most recent Super Bowl was 56?
57, I believe.
I thought it was 56 because the year before that was 55.
Oh yeah, 56. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm thinking of this upcoming year.
Yeah. So this coming year is 57. So let's hypothetic real quick. Tom Brady retires after this season. So the Super Bowl after that would be 58.
Yes.
Let's say...
Which we already know it's more likely going to be coming down to Mahomes and Brady again in the Super Bowl.
But we're saying he's retired after Super Bowl 57.
I know. I mean, like, this upcoming Super Bowl, this is basically what's going to be.
I don't know. We got to see how each team plays. We got to see if that Bucs defense is still there this year. This coming season. I'm hoping it is because it was really nice to see a really good defense play.
I don't see them going anywhere.
You never know. Injuries could happen.
Yeah, injuries could happen, but I'm saying
it could have been
it could stick together.
The way they meshed could have been a complete fluke, and it just doesn't happen this year. And the Bucs end up going 4-12 next year,
which I think would be funny for Tom Brady. But Tom Brady is also
because
too strong a quarterback too.
Nobody has repeated Super Bowl wins since Tom Brady did it with the Patriots.
Yeah.
But so Tom Brady retires after Super Bowl 57. I think automatically Patrick Mahomes wins Super Bowl 58, 59, and 60.
Oh yeah, I don't see that.
Then maybe from 61 to 64, or maybe even 61 to 65, he doesn't win the Super Bowl, but he's either there or in the AFC Championship every year.
Yeah.
And then from 66, 67, 68, 69, and he wins that, and 70. He wins all 5 of them in a row.
Which would probably be one of the best things, because that would actually surpass Tom Brady in his 7 rings.
Because what would be really funny is...
Because if he did a 3-peat after Tom Brady, that would make him a 4, and that would put him 3 behind Tom Brady.
Here's the reasoning, though. So let's say the reason the Chiefs don't win Super Bowl 61 through 65 is because Andy Reid retires. Okay? But then after Super Bowl 65, the year Super Bowl 66, Bill Belichick goes from the Patriots to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, that one.
And then they win 5 in a row.
That one would be an interesting one.
And
that
then you hear, and then after Super Bowl 70, Bill Belichick finally announces his retirement, and he says, "See, Tom, I can do it without you."
That one would be a good one, though. But
that's a complete hypothetical, and probably a complete farce, and not going to happen that way.
Yeah. No, but
I do see Patrick Mahomes winning a lot of Super Bowls after Tom Brady's gone.
Yeah, and Tom Brady has always said that. It's like he sees Mahomes going a lot in his career. And then we also have Zach Ertz, who could be released from the Eagles, which that one should be interesting when that comes out, if that actually does happen, which we'll touch more base on that one next week.
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there and let people know.
But we do really need to address, real quick, what the hell is going on in Las Vegas, man? I mean,
The Raiders are not good. They're trying to strip down their team to rebuild.
I mean, yeah, I realize the overall cap is not as big this year as it has been in previous years, and that's largely due to the impact of COVID and no fans in the stands for a lot of last season. Now, there's a couple of moves that the Raiders have gone ahead and made that I'm okay with. Like, originally, they released Tyrell Williams.
But you don't see the Dolphins really stripping their team much. They're throwing away one or two players, but they're not really stripping their team.
It does happen.
Not like this, though.
Yeah, it is a little concerning. But, so, one of the moves that I'm okay with is the releasing of Tyrell Williams. Because he was a part of that wide receiver core that was supposed to be essentially built around Antonio Brown a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Tyrell's been hurt and missed significant time over the last couple of seasons. Hasn't been able to contribute like he was supposed to. He was supposed to be, a low number one, solid number two wide receiver.
Yeah.
And he showed that level of talent in San Diego or L.A. With the Chargers.
Yeah. Because he was with San Diego when they moved to
in the
LA.
games he did play with the Raiders, he did perform well.
Yeah.
Problem is, he just kept getting hurt, wasn't able to play consistently.
Yeah.
So they did let him go, and I was okay with that one. The other move, which just happened today, was the releasing of LaMarcus Joyner.
Yes.
I was also okay with that one because they signed Joyner to a 4-year, $30-some-odd million contract, and he just did not produce.
Yeah, no.
I don't think it's entirely his fault because of where they decided to have him play was not the best position. They should have had him playing as a safety, and they had him playing as a slot corner because he's
a fast guy,
but he's not as fast as he used to be, and he needed those couple extra steps to be able to be that level of player that he should have been.
Yeah.
So, but because of his poor performance and the fact that they weren't going to move him into a safety position, I was okay with that move.
Yeah, and anyone who picks him up for a safety will probably do decent with that position until they can get someone else to fill it.
Now, where I'm really concerned is the offensive line, because they've made 3 really big moves on the offensive line in just the last couple of days alone. So, shortly after the release of Tyrell Williams last week, we got an announcement that they were releasing right tackle Gabe Jackson. Or right guard Gabe Jackson.
Yeah.
And that surprised me because Gabe has been a solid part of that line for a good 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And so I was really surprised when I heard that. I wasn't too surprised because he is getting older, so I can kind of understand why a little bit. I mean, he wasn't too old, and the whole thing is offensive linemen tend to last a lot longer than some of the other positions.
Yeah, and they've also released right guard Richie Incognito.
Yeah, I was getting to that.
Which
today
because
they announced.
Because they're both guards, so I decided to throw that in there too.
Right. Yeah. But Richie, I believe, was the left guard.
Yeah, Richie was left.
Gabe Jackson was right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there are rumors that they are trying to trade right tackle Trent Brown.
Yeah, but Incognito was actually, they decided to release him because he missed pretty much the entire season with an Achilles tail.
Yeah, but the year before that, he had played extremely well.
Yeah, and he is 37 too, so that one's not.
And so that one I guess I can kind of understand, but he still play. When he was in, he was playing extremely well.
Yeah,
for his age. So this really is kind of concerning that it feels like they're gutting their entire offensive line at once.
Yeah,
which is a little scary for me because this past season they actually had one of the best offensive lines. The past couple of seasons they've had one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Oh yeah.
Especially 2 years ago, this would have been their first year in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So their last year in Oakland, they really had a really, really solid offensive line when they had everybody healthy. They had Colton Miller out in left tackle. They had Richie Incognito at the guard, Rodney Hudson at the center, Gabe Jackson at the right guard, and then did they have Trent Brown 2 years ago? They might have.
Yeah, they had Trent Brown too.
And of course, Trent Brown he's a solid player, but so many things happened. I realized some of it wasn't under his control. You can't really control when you get injured like that. You can't control. Nobody had any control whether or not they contracted COVID-19.
Exactly.
So.
And then with the release of both Jackson and Incognito, they did free up nearly $15 million in cap space too.
Yeah, and I mean they did have some. So when Incognito and Jackson were both injured this past season, they had some younger guys that actually stepped up and played really well.
Yeah.
So there is hope that they could still build a solid line. It just, I mean, but how much did you say that freed up?
Just about $15 million.
That's not a whole lot to sit there and try and go out and fill those positions with.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
But you also got to remember,
because any decent veteran that you're going to be able to find is going to at least take a $15 million deal just to get on, just for one position.
But you also got to remember, you also have the $8.7 million freed up cap space from the release of Joyner too.
Joyner, yeah.
Joyner, thank you. So that puts it over $23 million in cap space.
Yeah, and then if they could successfully trade Trent Brown and get out of that deal, that could free up some room too.
That could free up a good at least $10 million.
So maybe this is hopeful that maybe they are looking to build up their defense in the draft and then maybe sign a few key offensive linemen.
Yeah,
that's a hope.
That's a hope, but
it's definitely going to be interesting. It has me worried because, what if these young guys, what if they are not able to get a solid veteran to replace these guys, or even, what if you can't find a decent rookie to come in and take over?
Exactly.
It's really, it worries me for Derek Carr because Derek had a really good season this year. He's had the last 3-4 years, he's actually been playing extremely well for the limited weapons that he's had.
Mm-hmm.
I have really high hopes for the relationship he seems to be developing with Henry Ruggs. Nelson Aguilar was a huge pickup because he went off this season.
Oh, that was a great pickup for them.
And then, Darren Waller turned it on in the second half of the season where he was just, we already knew he was good from the season before.
But when he turned it on at one of the best opportunities.
He broke a damn record in the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I still do have high hopes for the offense, and I know the defense is the weaker point, and it is probably the point that they need to focus on, especially in the draft.
Oh, yeah.
But getting rid of that many offensive linemen at one time does kind of concern me.
But you also got to remember there was actually a good amount of offensive linemen coming into the draft too, which they probably looked at too, which is why they're making the moves they are.
Yeah, but it's very rare that you can find one that you can draft and have immediately ready to play right out the gate. Usually it does take a couple years of them sitting behind, a decent starter to actually be able to pick up and get going.
They probably saw something in a few of them that some of us might have not been able to see, which they're gonna probably try to pick up.
Yeah, and and I guess one of the best things that the Raiders do have going for them, any offensive lineman that they pick up in the draft, they're going to have one of the best offensive line coaches to coach them up in Tom Cable.
Which is also probably why they're thinking about it too.
Yeah, because look at what he did with Colton Miller. Colton Miller's first couple of seasons were miserable.
Oh yeah.
And then when Tom Cable comes back under John Gruden, all of a sudden he turns Colton Miller around, and Colton Miller's one of the best left tackles in the league now.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best choices that they could have done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't understand why they ever got rid of Tom Cable in the first place. Back when they had made him the interim head coach, and he sat there and took a team that had a losing record for the past 8-9 years, and then all of a sudden he had an 8-8 record with them.
Yeah.
And then of course they fired him after 1 year as a head coach, as with an 8-8 record, and Hugh Jackson comes in the next year, he does the exact same thing with the team that Tom Cable built.
Yeah.
It was like, what was the improvement here? How did that work for you? And then of course the team sucked the next year under Hugh Jackson after he made a whole bunch of changes.
Yeah, so and they probably bit themselves on the butt after doing that move with the head coach.
Yeah, because they really, they struggled offensive line wise for years after that. But these past couple of years, they've really managed to put it back together underneath John Gruden and Tom Cable.
Yeah, so
and of course,
I think that's why they brought back John Cable.
Mike Mayock, as the general manager, has been making some really good picks.
Oh yeah, and that definitely does help them in the long run.
Yeah. So, I think that's about it. What we had for today. We are once again running a little bit long, but hopefully I can kind of cut it down a little bit.
But we pretty much hit what we needed to, and
yeah, so we should be able to keep the next several episodes
a little bit
right shorter, to where we need to be.
But I did say last week that this one was going to be a little bit longer still, but
yeah. You'll also notice we didn't talk at all about Drew Brees because at this point he hasn't announced that he's retiring, but he also hasn't announced that he's not retiring.
Which I see him coming back. But
so basically at this point we're just going to handle it as he's not retired until he says he's retired. So we're going to operate under the assumption that he's coming back for next year.
Yeah, so basically he's a giant flip coin that will not come down.
Yeah. But yeah. So, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
But that's your weekly news?
Yeah, that's your weekly update to the NFL. And we thank everybody for stopping in and joining us and giving us a listen. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'm still working on getting our Twitter page up and running. I'm working on getting us up on Apple and Spotify and other places like that.
And please comment down. Please comment down if there is something you want us to touch bases on, because we will be reading the comments.
Yeah.
We haven't really been getting very many, but
we haven't been getting any at all, I don't think.
No, but if there is something you want us to touch base on in the next episode, we'll definitely be reading the comments and trying to touch base as much as possible on those.
Yes.
So please comment down as much as possible.
Yeah, and please, your subscribes, those help us immensely getting this channel going. Recommend it to your friends who like the NFL, who you think would enjoy listening to us and our opinions. Don't forget to like the video. That helps us immensely as well.
And please let everyone know that we all keeping politics out of this and keeping it straight to football.
Yeah.
Because we have too many football analysts podcasts out there that go too much on politics.
Yeah, they let politics influence their shows a little too much, and we're going to try and stay away from that. We're just, as we said before, we're two regular guys who love football, love talking about football, love arguing about football.
Yeah, especially since you're a Raider fan and I'm a Dogs fan.
Yeah.
They already don't get along.
Yeah.
And yet we're making a podcast with one.
But anyways, thanks again. We hope you enjoyed this one, and until the next one, we'll see you later.
Bye.